Hello people, Arceus Night here, with another fanfiction reading of, yeah, you know, Spike's sexual revolution. Now, I'm gonna let you guys in on something. Everything that Spike's been doing from now is making Luna really, really jealous, and in Chapter 15, shit happens. That's all I'm gonna say for now. So, if you're ready to continue, let's begin. And sorry about the month's absence. So, Chapter 3, Bad Cop, Naughty Cop. Applejack couldn't believe she let Pinkie Pie talk her into this. She glanced up and down the street, hoping no pony would see her. She looked at Pinkie, who wasn't the slightest bit embarrassed about being in the same getup. Come on, Applejack, you can't tell me you're not excited. I know I am. Pinkie was bouncing, which made this whole thing all the more silly. No, I ain't the least bit excited. I'm downright ashamed of myself. If it weren't for the farm, I wouldn't be out here, Applejack said. The old plow had finally given up to the ghost, and they needed a new one fast. When she mentioned it to Pinkie, the party pony had mentioned it was possible to make the money in one night. Applejack was skeptical for a good reason. I just don't get it, Pinkie. Who in their right mind pays for this kind of thing? Applejack couldn't believe that they were people dumb enough to pay for this. It's all about your imagination. Now get into character, officer. We have some criminals to catch, Pinkie Pie said, stopping in front of the house. Applejack was too busy wondering how she was going to get through this to notice the house. Spike had been sitting in his home with Snips and Snails, who had been giggling like idiots for about half an hour. Guys, is something gonna happen, or are you just gonna keep laughing? Cause I could be getting some sleep. Spike was interrupted as he heard a knock on the door. Snips and Snails started to laugh a little bit harder as Snips spoke up. You should get that, dude. I think it's important. Snips was trying to hold his laughter. Spike was suspicious as he walked towards the door. Snips and Snails were watching from the couch. Spike opened the door and prepared himself for whatever stupid thing was waiting for him behind the door. He opened the door and wasn't prepared at all. Hey there! We got some complaints of a few naughty boys here in need of a spanking, Pinkie said in a seductive voice. She was dressed in a very revealing cop uniform that for some reason he found more alluring than a naked Pinkie. Applejack was equally stunned, watched as Spike close the door. Spike turned to his friends who were sad to see him close the door. Dude, what the hell are you doing? It wasn't easy for these strippers in Ponyville, Snip said, eager to let the girls in. Are you two crazy? You hired Pinkie Pie and Applejack to strip in my house. What if Twilight finds out? She'll lock me up, or maybe banish me. She might even banish me, then lock me up wherever she banishes me to. Spike's in a full-blown freak-out mode. Dude, calm down. Twilight can't banish you or lock you up. You moved out, remember? Snail said, trying to keep Spike from hyperventilating. We hired them for you, dude. We kind of felt bad about your luck with the ladies lately, so we decided to show you a good time. We thought you'd be happy. You couldn't hire ponies who weren't friends of Twilight, Spike said. Dude, we asked Pinkie Pie about a bachelor party, and she told us that she was the only gal in town who would do it. I can't believe she got Applejack to come, though. This doesn't seem like her theme, Snip said. Applejack was stunned as she saw Spike standing at the door. When he closed it, she turned to Pinkie Pie. Pinkie Pie, what was Spike at the door just now? Applejack's right eye was twitching like crazy. That's Officer Pie, rookie. Looks like we got some real troublemakers on our hooves, Pinkie said, still in character. Pinkie, are you crazy? We ain't dancing for Spike and his friends. It ain't right, Applejack said nervously. Right! I am above the law! Officer Pie was glaring at the insolent rookie. Law? Applejack said confused. Pinkie, I need to speak with the real you. Applejack was searching for her friend, but only Officer Pie responded. Listen up, rookie. You got a family at home depending on you. Suck it up, get in there, and shake what your mama gave you, rookie. Applejack knew Pinky, or rather Officer Pie, was right. She couldn't let her family down. She had to suck it up and just go through it for her family. I'm ready, Officer Pie, Applejack said, was ready to get it over with. That's what I'd like to hear, Rookie, Officer Pie said, turning to the rookie. She placed her front hooves on Applejack's shoulder and smiled. Make me proud in there. Officer Pie turned back around and knocked on the door. Open up the door, you criminal scum! Spike heard Pinky banging on his door. Is she supposed to be a stripper or an actual cop? Spike, do you think Pinky is going to tell Twilight she danced for us? Come on, open the door. Let's get this party started, Snips said impatiently. Spike thought about it and realized Snips was right. He might as well open the door. He was pretty sure Pinky was going to bust the door down if she had to. He opened the door and tried to greet Pinky, only to find himself talking to a disgruntled Officer Pie. Don't get too friendly with me, punk. Why'd you close the door? You got something to hide from me, Scales? Pinky said as she looked over the boys. I'm sorry, Pink. That's Officer Pie to you, Scales. Now who's the ringleader? Snips and Snails pointed at Spike. Alright, rookie. You take Scales somewhere private and grill him. I'll take care of these two stool pigeons. Applejack was taken aback when she thought about questioning Pinky, but thought better of it. She didn't want to question Officer Pie in front of the suspects. Well, rookie, what are you waiting for? A handwritten invitation? What? What? Spike was pushed into his bedroom by Applejack, or was it Officer Apple? She had been so quiet back where, which was odd, but then again, Spike didn't think she would ever strip either. As he turned around, he saw Applejack standing there in that uniform and started to get a little aroused. Alright, you criminal scum, get on the bed. Spike did as he was told and sat on the bed. Applejack walked sensually over to the dragon and started to dance that had Spike mesmerized. He couldn't take his eyes off her. Every movement was sexually charged. She could sometimes come into close enough contact that he could smell her scent. He thought of nothing but Applejack as she performed. Applejack danced as Pinky told her. Just dance, let the energy of the person watching you flow through you. She had no idea what Pinky was talking about until now. She could feel his energy as she danced. It excited her as she moved around Spike. Without realizing it, she started to find herself getting closer and closer to Spike. Pretty soon she was completely focused on Spike. She stopped dancing and just stared into his eyes. Spike was inches away from Applejack's face. He could feel her breath as she drew closer and closer. He closed his eyes and was about to move in for a kiss when they were both interrupted by a knocking at the door. It was Officer Pie. Rookie, let's roll. I think we got all we need from these delinquents. Applejack felt like she had just been waking from a dream. She stepped away from Spike, who was now looking away. He would occasionally glance at her, only to look somewhere else when she looked at him. Applejack felt confused as to why Spike wouldn't look at her. She desperately wanted to say something or just look at her. Spike couldn't face Applejack. It was too much for him. He hadn't felt this way about anyone since Rarity. Wait, Rarity! The gears in his head started to spin. A realization washed over the young dragon. Applejack started to speak up, but Officer Pie wasn't getting any younger. Let's roll, rookie. I don't got all day. Applejack started to walk away. Spike called out as she reached the door. Applejack, do you think I could see you again? Spike had no idea how much that meant to the farm pony. Sure, Spike, I'd be glad to, Applejack said. Applejack felt so relieved. She wanted to turn around and say something, but decided against it. She walked away with Officer Pie, who had went back to Pinky almost immediately after leaving the house. That was so much fun! See, I told you, AJ! Sorry if Officer Pie was kind of hard on you. She's just tough because she cares a lot. Pinky was back to normal, for Pinky anyway. I guess it wasn't too bad. How many characters do you have anyway? Applejack said, smiling. I don't know, I never counted, Pinky said, before going over a long list of characters with Applejack all the way home. How many characters did you have? Like, what, 2,000? No, probably like 20, maybe 40. Hell, I don't know. Maybe 10, 50. I don't know. No one ever counts. Spike had walked out to see his friends wide-eyed with big smiles on their faces. Spike snapped his fingers in front of their eyes and they instantly popped back to reality. He wondered what Pinkie Pie had done to these two while he was with Applejack. He was going to ask, but Snip spoke up first. That was awesome, Snip said. He hadn't seen him this happy since Silver Spoon agreed to go out with him. Officer Pie is amazing, Snail said. What happened to you guys? Spike asked. He almost wished he could have seen Applejack. Applejack was great, but seeing Pinkie dance must have been something else. He was right. Snip and Snail had recounted with extreme detail everything. They described Pinkie as incredibly flexible to the point of having no bones. She had a sweet, sexy voice that was music to the ears. Her grace would put swans to shame. Her eyes could melt the coldest of hearts. Spike had to stop them because Snips and Snails seemed to have forgotten that they had girlfriends. Guys, how do you feel about Pinkie? Spike hoped that they wouldn't say anything stupid. He apparently forgot who he was talking to. She's the most amazing pony ever, they said at the same time. Spike face palmed. It was Trixie all over again. Oh fuck. Oh god. Please let's not have another episode where they friggin' do something stupid as hell and end up destroying something. You guys have girlfriends, remember? Silver Spoon and Peppermint Twist? Spike said. Snips and Snail turned red as they apparently forgot the fact. You gotta admit it was worth the 200 bits, right? Snips said, turning to Snails. Definitely worth it. Wait, you guys get... Wait, where'd you guys get 200 bits? Spike knew his friends weren't rich, and 200 bits could buy you a decent couch. We've been playing this for a while, said Snips. Wait, you guys said this was to cheer me up, Spike said. We did do it for you. We saved the money and realized we couldn't invite strippers into our own home, so we threw it at your house. Spike would have gotten mad, but if this hadn't happened, he wouldn't have learned something very important. Besides, he had fun tonight. So let me get this straight. You guys saved 200 bits to hire strippers and didn't have a place for them to dance, Spike said, summing up the situation. Well, when you say it like that, it sounds kind of stupid. So you used my place by making me think it was all for me, Spike said. It does sound kind of dishonest, Snip said. You guys are... Spike paused to watch Snips and Snails, who were feeling pretty bad at this point. Totally awesome, Spike said, put his fist down and bumped hooves with Snips and Snails. Snips and Snails laughed a bit before they left to go home. Spike got out of the scroll and wrote a message to Princess Luna. He needed to see her immediately. As he waited for the princess, he wondered if she was okay. Last time she left, she seemed pretty sad about what Spike had said. Maybe this news would cheer her up. He was surprised to hear knocking at his door. It was Princess Luna, but why didn't she just teleport inside? Hey, Princess Luna, come in, have a seat. I have some really big news, Spike said. Spike, you don't have to be so formal. Call me Luna, okay? Luna found herself sounding more nervous around the little dragon. She walked in and sat on the couch. She made sure to always look in any direction but Spike, especially when he looked at her. Luna, do you remember how I told you about my feelings for Rarity? Spike said excitedly. Yes, I remember, Luna said, remembering Spike's eyes. She was finding it hard to keep her eyes off him. I realized that I might not actually be in love with Rarity tonight. I might have experienced an entirely different emotion when I met Rarity, Spike said, pacing around the room. He knew he was starting to sound like Twilight when she discovered something. What emotion might that be? Luna was trying not to look at Spike, but he was saying he might not be in love with Rarity. Spike had her full attention. Lust. It might have been lust when I saw Rarity. I experienced an immediate and powerful attraction to Rarity that my mind interpreted as love. I learned tonight that I may not have been wrong about that feeling, Spike said, going over everything as he said it. It would explain why he fell in love with Applejack. When did you figure this out, Spike? Princess Luna said, had dropped all pretense of trying to look away from Spike. Well, Applejack was giving me a lap dance. I thought I had fallen in love with her, and I freaked out because I thought I had fallen in love with Applejack. And I was afraid to look at her because I thought she might not love me back. When I looked into her eyes, I saw through Applejack's eyes. Luna didn't know which part to address first. Why was the element of honesty giving you a lap dance? Luna asked. She was seriously confused by Spike's last statement. Long story short, Snips and Snail hired Pinkie Pie and Applejack to strip in order to cheer me up because they thought I was depressed over my fake breakup with Moonbeam, Spike said, summing up everything succinctly. Luna figured that was as good as an explanation she was going to get through, but why two elements of harmony were stripping was a question for another time and place. Anyway, it was right after Applejack stopped dancing and looked at me. I saw the feeling that she was experiencing it. No, I didn't just see it. It was almost like I could feel what she was feeling. It's like my brain tapped into Applejack's. I realized that she had begun to open herself up to me in a way she wasn't used to. This pony, who I considered to be strong and powerful, opened up to me and showed me a side of herself no one has ever seen to me. She wasn't in love with me, but she desperately wanted to be with me at that moment, and still probably does after seeing and feeling that emotion in Applejack. I realized that it couldn't possibly be love. Spike said, pacing about the room. Luna was afraid Spike might have lost it. What do you mean when you said you tapped into Applejack's brain? Luna watched Spike cross the room over and over again. He looked like he could snap at any moment, but just continued. I think I would read some pony's eyes. I have only been scratching the surface by tapping into his eyes. When I looked into Applejack's eyes, I went deeper than I had ever gone before with anyone. It means I can do more than just see the desires of others. I can literally experience their emotions as they do. Heck, I could probably see more than that. Spike began to wonder how far he could go into some pony's mind. Could he see their memories, dreams, or fears? He was getting off track. But back to before. As I realized that someone had exhibited certain traits strongly enough that I couldn't help but feel a certain way about that person. Rarity's beauty and Applejack's vulnerability are traits that I look for when I look for love. It would explain why I immediately felt that way with Rarity, but not Applejack. I didn't see Applejack as vulnerable until tonight. Spike had stopped pacing and he stopped at the window and looked up at the night sky. Luna looked at Spike. He practically described his perfect girl to one who was already in love with him. She began to wonder if he could see those things in her. She wanted to ask him if she had those qualities. Could he possibly feel that way for her? When Spike asked her a question that she wasn't ready for. Luna, have you ever been in love with someone? Have you ever thought about why you were so attracted to them? Spike said, and it was as he still looked out the window so he couldn't see the look of absolute shock on her face. No, can't say that I have. Luna looked away from Spike. What did she like about him? What about Spike made her want to be with him? He'd have to be a pretty amazing guy to catch my eyes. To catch your eye, sorry, grammar. Fuck, I can't do my grammar. Yeah, I guess he'd have to be, Princess Luna chuckled at the irony. He made her laugh so she could add a sense of humor to the list of reasons why she liked him. So, you have thought about it, Spike asked her. Once again, he caught her off guard. She began to wonder if he was doing this on purpose. I guess. So, you must have thought of some traits that you would find desirable. Luna was really uncomfortable with Spike's new line of questioning. Suddenly she remembered all the time she had shared with Spike. She knew that what she liked about it. I guess he'd have to be kind, selfless, understanding, fun to be around. Spike turned around and looked at Luna, who was looking down in deep concentration. He smiled at the princess. It sounds like you have someone in mind already, Spike. Spike wondered who the lucky colt was, who managed to get Luna's attention. Maybe I do, she said proudly. So what are you going to do next? I'm going to confront Applejack and Rarity. I need to see them in order to understand what love is. Spike said seriously. I think if I meet with them, I might understand more about what love truly means. I think this intense attraction is part of love. Spike didn't know what would happen the next time he saw Applejack or Rarity. He just knew he had to see them. So when are you going to see them? Tomorrow. I'm going to visit Applejack. I want to talk to her first. I can't explain it, but I feel like she expects me to. Spike, you remember the look in her eyes. It would bother him until he actually talked to her. Luna, thanks for listening to me. It means a lot to me. I don't mind, Spike, Luna said, trying not to blush. So who's the lucky guy? Spike asked, staring at the princess. She noticed his gaze and looked away. What do you mean? Luna said nervously. He was looking at her again, and quite intently too. You know, the guy you had in mind. Do I know him? Does he live in Ponyville? Spike wanted to know who this guy was. He had to be pretty impressive to get someone like Princess Luna's attention. Oh my, would you look at the time? I have to go do night stuff, Luna said. Night stuff? Well, I guess I'll see you later, Spike said, a little bit confused. Bye, Spike. As she left, she turned around and Spike managed to catch her eye just for a second before she teleported. He only read a little bit of her feelings, but it was enough to know one thing. It had to be the most intense feeling he had ever seen in anyone's eyes. Spike had to definitely find out who this guy was. The next day, Spike heard someone knocking at the door as he slept. He warily looked at the clock on his nightstand. He had really slept late. It was almost noon. He had to help Twilight at 1. He walked to the door, still half asleep, and opened it. Excuse me for a sec. He walked through the door, still half asleep, and opened it. He was instantly awake when he saw it was Applejack at the door. Hey, Spike, I brought you some apples. Applejack wasn't here just to give him apples. He hadn't expected her so soon. Hey, AJ, come in. Spike ushered the Earth Pony in. He took the bag of apples she was carrying off her back. It was really heavy. He forgot how strong Applejack was as he barely managed to get the bag onto the kitchen table. He thought about how her strength, and he couldn't believe that Applejack he saw last night carried these apples over. He motioned for her to take a seat. After a long, uncomfortable silence, what seemed to go on forever, Applejack spoke up. Spike, I want to talk to you about something about last night. Y'all probably wondering why I was doing something like that. She went on to explain that her family's plow had broken down and they desperately needed a new one. With harvesting season coming up, plows are expensive, and earning enough money to get a new one the normal way would mean missing out on harvest season, and the farm couldn't survive with loss of crops. That's when she told Pinkie Pie about her dilemma, and she told her a way to get all the money she needed in one night. Spike could pretty much figure out the rest of the story from there. Oh, I see. I kind of suspected that was your first time. It was good, but not great, Spike was laughing. Now, hold on just 1 minute. What's that supposed to mean? I reckon I had you mighty hot around the collar. I remember a certain dragon who couldn't take his eyes off of me, Applejack said proudly. Hey, it was my first lap dance, and anyone would have been impressed if it was their first time, Spike said, defending himself. Oh yeah? Name one thing I did wrong, Applejack shouted. You never actually took off your clothes, Spike said plainly. Applejack blushed. She had gotten so caught up with the dancing that she had forgot to do that. That's besides the point. I still remember y'all were wide-eyed with your jaw hanging open. Applejack remembered Spike gazing at her and started to feel a little excited. Like I said before, it was my first time. It's not like you can make me look like that again, Spike said, waiting for Applejack to say something. But she didn't. The Earth Pony got up and pushed Spike towards the bedroom. As soon as she got him in, she spoke up again. Get on the bed, you no-good scoundrel. Spike was confused. He started to question her, but was interrupted. You want to disobey an officer of the law, tough guy? Applejack was staring at him with a serious look on her face. Spike suddenly felt a desire to question her disappear as he jumped on the bed. I think the last time I interrogated you, I went way too easy. This time, I ain't holding back. And there ain't no Officer Pie to save you neither. Ugh. It's just you and Officer Apple. Spike thought Applejack had reached Pinkie Pie's level of acting. There was no longer Applejack. It really was Spike and Officer Pie. Officer Apple went into a routine that completely eclipsed the one from last night. Unlike last night, she would occasionally brush against him. She was all over him. He could feel her breath on his neck each time she got close. This time around, he felt his erection, which he managed to keep inside a pier. If Officer Apple noticed, she didn't show it. She continued to grind her body against his. Officer Apple stopped at his face and looked into his eyes. Spike read her eyes and saw the vulnerable side again. He thought about how inappropriate it was for Officer Apple to be showing that side to a suspected criminal. Are you ready to confess, Scales? Are you ready to confess, Scales? She said in a sensual whisper. Spike was ready to play along, though. You're gonna have to try harder than that, officer, Scales said with a little smirk. Officer Apple smiled back before she moved down and put her lips gently onto Scales. He pushed his lips against hers and she pushed him down onto the bed. He felt her tongue enter his mouth as his head hit the mattress. Scales couldn't do much as Officer Apple held him down. After a while, she pulled back and Scales took the opportunity to get on top of Officer Apple. He proceeded to return the kiss and moved down her body. He ran his hands over her belly and noticed how firm her muscles were. He moved his hand down till it till he met her lips. Scales used a finger to open her lips. Officer Apple let out a slight moan as Scales moved one finger inside of her. He moved in a second, and Officer Apple let out a small yelp of pleasure. She was starting to get pretty wet. Officer Apple made her move to get back on top as soon as Spike withdrew his fingers. She sat up and pinned the suspect on his back. She looked at his erection. She raised her hips over Scales' cock and started to lower herself onto his cock. Okay then. Yes, you heard me right. I did just refer to your dick as a cock. No, not the chicken cock. I'm not talking about cockfights. Not talking about gay stuff. I'm talking about your dick. As she felt him enter her, she felt the heat from Scales' wang his dick. As he managed to move deeper inside her, the officer started to move her hips slowly as she moved herself up and down on his wang. She started to moan as she moved faster. Officer Apple felt amazing as she moved up and down on top of Spike. She felt warm to the point of almost being cocked. Pretty hot. Pretty soon she had his entire wang inside of her. She started to move back and forth instead of up and down. Officer Apple started to feel the pleasure move throughout her body. She felt her legs start to shake as she came on top of Scales. She moved off of Scales' wang and turned around and placed the tip in her mouth. She started to suck on it for a while before Scales finally released himself into her mouth. She swallowed every bit as he finished. Officer Apple lay next to Scales. She had worked over the suspect pretty good and looked like he was ready to confess. Well, Scales, you ready to talk? Officer Apple said, looking at the dragon. You got me, Officer Apple, I confess. Scales said, feigning guilt. Let's hear it then, Officer Apple said triumphantly. Applejack gave me a great lap dance, Spike said, breaking character. You're darn right I did, Applejack said, leaning and planting one on Spike's cheek. Spike turned over and looked at the clock. It was 3 o'clock. He was supposed to be at toilet 2 hours ago. He got out of bed at once. This time decidedly more panicked. I was supposed to be at Twilight 2 hours ago. Hours ago. He was about to go clean up when he heard Applejack call out to him. Spike, I just wanted to say thanks for, I mean, you're a great guy and all. I guess what I'm trying to say is Applejack couldn't say it, but Spike understood. She wanted to say thanks, but also this was a one-time thing. She couldn't bring herself to say it, but she didn't need to. He could see it in her eyes. I understand, Applejack. This is a one-time thing, Spike said, looking at Applejack. He realized something as he watched. Applejack smiled nervously. It wasn't just her vulnerable side he liked. He liked the strong side, too. Both sides accented each other. Spike and Applejack said their goodbyes as he ran to the library. As he ran into the library, he ran into someone and fell back. He looked up and stared straight into the eyes of Rarity. He couldn't resist looking into her eyes, but began to realize he couldn't see anything in her eyes. He stood there wondering why he couldn't read anything in her eyes. She must have felt nothing for him. It was impossible for her not to. Spike was on the verge of tears when Rarity spoke up. The girl he thought he loved felt absolutely nothing for her. Spike, are you okay? Rarity asked. Spike was trying to hold himself together, but he had a hard time doing so. I have to go, Rarity. Spike ran towards Twilight House as tears started to stream from his eyes. He didn't want to think about Rarity. He didn't want to think about anything right now. And there we go, people. That is the end of Chapter 3. See you all soon.